Yo, we are live. We are live. All right. So to everybody coming out, this is the Conservative Guy Fitness channel. And I want to go ahead and tackle what I need to talk about real fast. I don't want to waste any time. On what it is, I'm going to explain the different styles that can be done in order to successfully do the intermittent fasting. And then we'll talk about what it's usually geared towards, whether that be weight loss. So talking about intermittent fasting itself, let's just drive in on that topic. What is intermittent fasting? So intermittent fasting is going to be a way of eating. That's usually how it's defined as. It's a way of eating, all right? What it basically breaks down to is you have a fed state, and then you have a a period where you don't eat. So the period where you don't eat, that's your fasted state. And the period when you eat, that's called your fed state. Your fed state is usually somewhere when you start intermittent fasting, the most basic of ability to eat. That's your fed window. What ends up happening is once you go for this entire 16 hours, what it usually leads to is a lot of fat loss. Okay. Let's talk about the individual types of intermittent fasting, and then we'll talk about how much fat you will actually lose. So when we look at the 16 and 8, that's going to be your most basic form. Outside of the 16 and 8, there's also a version where you can actually do a 20 and 4. So for 20 hours, you go without any food, you just drink water. And for 4 hours, you're allowed to eat whatever food you can cram in during that time. And what ends up being the case is that you can only pack in so many calories within a short period of time. So if you're only given X amount of time, and you have to pack in this many calories, that might not happen in 2, 3 individuals in a position where they are able to easily lose weight. All right. When you do the 16 and 8, yeah, you'll lose some weight. Results will start looking good. Everybody's different on how much they'll lose and when they're going to lose. For the most part, the body will kind of get adjusted somewhere after maybe 2, 3 days time. Your body will get adjusted to exactly what you're doing, the intermittent fasting and how it's working, the food you're taking in. And over a period of maybe like a week or two, you should successfully knock off a few pounds. I'm not going to call no numbers because I don't want anybody said, you said I was going to lose 5 and I didn't lose 5. I'm going to just tell you that you're going to lose some weight. All right. If you were to follow through with intermittent fasting and play it out for a good week to 2 weeks time. All right. Clearly you will lose weight for the simple fact that you're now not allowing your body the chance to intake enough calories for you to gain weight. When you're talking about losing weight and the types, the 16 and 8, you're going to lose some weight. The 20 and 4, you're going to lose even more weight. Now, outside of the 20 and 4, there's one other type of intermittent fasting that's able to be done. Obviously, you're not going to do this type of intermittent fasting for 2 days in a row, and that's a 24-hour fast. It's something that people have done. You can successfully do it. You won't feel lightheaded, this, that, and the third. A lot of people like to talk about how they will feel lightheaded or they may not be able to perform and things like that. And most of that stuff is actually what your body's experiencing because it's not used to what you're actually doing. The moment your body adapts to what you're doing, like, oh, you don't get in another meal until 12 o'clock tonight, your body's not going to bother you in the middle of the day and make you feel like, man, I need to go out and get some food. Your body's going to adapt. You're going to see you can obviously perform in certain situations, certain scenarios. You may be able to perform better because you're not worried about food. A lot of other things could play out that you may not want to get into, and you find that when you don't eat during those times, you can end up doing more things or focus on more things. So it could actually benefit you to go those long extended periods of time without eating. Now, it's your decision if you want to do the 16 and 8, the 20 and 4, so 20 hours fasted, 4 hours fed state, or if you want to just do a full 24 hours fasted state. But after that 24 hours, you have to introduce your body to some food after that period of time, and it should help you go in the right direction. Now, you'll read up on a lot of other people who have fasted for like longer periods of time. I don't really dibble and dabble into fasts that are that extended, that long. The furthest I go out is a 24-hour fast. I find that to be very useful if you had a long night of some bad eating, a lot of pizza, a lot of fries, a lot of burgers, all in combination, and you do that all throughout the day. You'll find that something like a 24-hour fast could really knock you building muscle, because I just told you about burning fat. I cannot tell you how much fat. I can't say you're going to lose 1%, 2%, 3%. It doesn't work like that. The main thing you need to know is the action. You will lose fat. You will lose weight if you follow through with the proper intermittent fasting. Now let's talk about muscle. When you talk about muscle, right? When it comes down to it, muscle is usually related to a caloric surplus. All right. You're going to be able to build very little muscle. Usually it's going to be a very small amount if you're not hitting the caloric surplus. Okay. Caloric surplus means if I take in a certain amount of calories, those calories need to be divvied up accordingly. That means bodily functions. That means my lungs, my heart, my kidneys, my brain, all of that requires calories in order for it to continue running. So I need to bring in enough calories to go ahead and play with my kids, whatever's going on. I need calories for all of that. When I have calories for all that stuff and my workouts and whatever else, the leftovers is usually what goes to building muscle. When you intermittent fast, in most cases, there aren't very many leftover calories. It's just the way that it plays out. You usually don't find very many leftovers because you don't have the time to eat it. If I give you 4 hours to eat, you stuff yourself and you're like, all right, the moment I get a chance, I'm going to eat again. But before you know it, your time's running out and you're not really hungry yet. And then boom, you pass that window. Now you can't eat for another 16 hours or 20 hours. So with that being the case, you may not be able to take in enough calories to give your body the ability to build muscle. So what you're going to find is that this is the point I'm trying to make. When it comes down to building muscle, if you build muscle, usually you're going to find that is something that's very difficult to do because you clearly won't be able to get enough calories. And if you are, or you do, the only way that it will happen is if you eat foods that are very, very caloric dense. That's usually going to be your bad foods, which will be your pizza, your cookies, your cupcakes. You could eat a slice of pizza and gain like 400 or 500 calories. So it's a bang for your buck. You gain a lot in that little bit. You know what I mean? That's the direction you would have to go. If you say to yourself, hey, I want to see if I could do intermittent fasting, knock off some fat, restrict some calories, and still gain muscle. That would be the only way. You would have to cram pizzas, burgers, fries, cookies, cupcakes, all of the calorie dense foods in order for you to hit the necessary calories that's needed in order to take care of all the bodily functions, all your normal actions throughout the day, and the balance of calories is what will be left over and given to your muscles to go and build and produce. All right. It up. If you want to talk about the foods, I could tell you a little bit about the foods. What you're going to find, again, I kind of touched on it just now a little bit, but I'll kind of give you a little bit of details on healthy foods. So healthy foods usually equate to fat loss, especially when you intermittent fast, because you're usually deprived of the necessary calories to maintain your weight. What you're going to find is that if you were to eat the calorie dense foods, the hamburgers, the fries, the cookies, the cupcakes, that type of thing, you're still going to burn fat. You'll manage to burn fat here and there. At times, you may burn more and less fat, depending on how many of those calories you actually take in. More and less may affect your body differently, all right? In certain times where you may take in a lot and you might lose a lot of weight. You might take in a little, you might lose no weight. You never know. And I know exactly what I just said is the opposite of what anybody would think, but that's exactly how the body works. You'll find that in many situations, you may swear you're playing all your cards right, but at the end of the day, it doesn't play out the way you think. And it's because the body will react a certain way. And a lot of times, something that you're looking into currently with the body and how it's working and operating, that's not the direction you need to look in. You need to look in what happened prior to you, to everything happening. Look at what happened the day before. That might help you understand why your weight's saying what it does. Don't look at the pizza you just ate like an hour ago, 2 hours ago. That'll definitely equate to fat gain, but usually it won't build on that fast. If you're finding that you're gaining weight in that type of situation, it may not be the food that you just consumed. It could also be what you ate the day before and how that compared to how many calories were burned throughout that day. So when you're talking about healthy foods, intermittent fasting, usually, hands down, you're going to knock off a good bit of weight and you're also going to knock off a good bit of body fat. If you want to add muscle building into the equation, Usually, the only way it's going to be done is if you bring in calorie dense foods, calorie dense fit, and you can do burgers, fries, cupcakes, cookies, and all that stuff and still bounce back. Feel free to do that in your little fed state, and then you can carry out the possibility of gaining muscle. But if you actually want to end up using intermittent fasting for what it needs to be and usually is used for, at the end of the day, it's usually tied in to weight loss and or fat loss. All right. With that being said, my advice to anybody out who decides to say, hey, I'm going to do intermittent fasting, yes or no type of thing, just be prepared for it. Know and understand that you don't see the results in just one day. It's meant to play out over the course of weeks before you really see a lot of what you're looking for. All right. So don't just get really hungry and starve for one day and swear that you lost 10 pounds. Definitely make sure you carry this out for a week's time before you even think about getting back on that scale, because you don't want to get back on after like a day or two, not see any results. In the case, you got to wait it out, give it some time, and you'll usually see that it is a great way to burn body fat and decrease your weight, especially when you're in a time where you feel like you just feel like, yo, it's really hard to lose weight and stuff like that. I'm constantly reaching for different foods. That's one way I think that could get you out of that little trap. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get ready to get up off this one. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out. Those who have come out, I see I got one person rocking with me the whole time, but sometimes that one person could check out and one can check in. So it could be two different people, but on my screen, it only shows as one. So thank you so much for coming out. Hopefully you learned a lot. If you do have any interest in intermittent fasting, definitely take a shot at it. It's a great way to make them things happen if you're looking to lose weight. Not so much in the area of muscle. It's a different way of going about building muscle. And we'll dive into a different video on that. But other than that, y'all know what it is. Conservative guy, I'm out.